You like D&D, Audrey Hepburn, Fangoria, Harry Houdini, and croquet. You can't swim, you can't dance, and you don't know karate. Face it, you're never gonna make it.
I don't want to make it. I just want to listen to the Going On podcast with Rap Critic and Views. Yo, what's going on out there, you cool guys and gals? Why did I take it back to the 50s? I don't know what's going on right now.
You know what you reminded me of with that? Do you remember the commercials for Bazooka Bubblegum? It was like 10 years ago.
Kids, where is Granny? Don't make me call a nanny.
But we don't want a nanny. All we want is bubblegum. Bazooka, zooka, bubblegum.
Bubblegum, bazooka, zooka, bubblegum, some gum.
What the hell?
The only reason I remember that is because I parodied it in a fucking, like, sketch video, like, in 2008. So, it's just burnt into my memory.
So this is gonna be a really weird transition.
I think everyone just kind of knows by now what's going on. We played it safe, and we didn't talk about Surviving R. Kelly when it was out. But from what I hear, in relation to what we're going to be discussing briefly, because it was a Lifetime presentation, it was, like, a bit more sensationalized, like, in the editing, and, like, they made it like a TV documentary. Leaving Neverland, on the other hand, is dry as a fucking bone, with the most, like, the utmost respect to the people being interviewed, and nothing else.
I was the hugest fan of Michael. You know what I mean? Like,
you know, I couldn't help but think of you.
like,
honestly.
As I saw this, and I just had that flashback to, like, all those times when I was younger. And I remember hearing people defending Michael around me and sort of being like, well, that makes sense. Oh, well, he's just weird. You know, he didn't have a childhood. So, you know, like, it can't be that. You know what I mean? Like, when you're in that circle and you're just like, yeah, it's just got to be that he's just that weird. And it's like, yes, he is that weird. And also, that's not okay because he totally did that. And you should be able to tell from these obvious patterns that someone who's doing that sort of stuff would do. You know what I mean?
You don't have loyalty to an artist, especially if it's like, you don't know the fucking person. All you know about this person is the music, and that can only go so far. And man, like, I was the same way to a degree. I wasn't huge into MJ as a kid, but there definitely was a phase where, like, I bought the double disc greatest hits and I watched the music videos a lot, and I listened to his stuff a good bit, like when I was about 12.
When something hits you that young, you know what I mean? And, like, your mom's listening to it, like, this is a part of, like, the family, you know what I mean? This is a part of culture, you know what I mean?
And I know this has come up on the podcast before, a couple times actually, before the documentary dropped, but I'm just gonna go ahead and say this, to anyone listening right now who is about to try to post YouTube links or articles or whatever, I'm just going to say there is nothing you can post that is going to change my mind on this. I 100% believe these two. Michael Jackson abso-fucking-lutely did all that shit.
Please don't say anything in public before actually watching it, because I've seen a lot of people that have, like, a couple of people that I know that have, like, publicly been like, oh yeah, man, that's not, like, I'm just not gonna watch it because that just doesn't seem right, and why would they do this, and they're just asking for money. And I had seen somebody do this, like, right after I had just watched it, and just, like, it had viscerally hit me, and so I wasn't expecting them to do it, and I was just like, oh, dude, you don't even know. Oh, and, like, just like them saying, oh, I didn't even watch it because I'm just like, oh, man, oh, you look really bad right now. Like, this is the equivalent of, like, reading the article before you decide to share your thoughts on it. Like, please watch this thing before you know, you can either not say anything about it, or you can, like, just don't say anything, or you can watch it, and then if you feel so compelled to present your evidence afterwards, then do so, but with the knowledge of what they said in your mind. There are certain details in their story that link up in ways that are like, oh, this is the cycle of an abuser, and it, like, in little ways that are just like, that reveals something about his psyche that is just like, that's weird that he revealed that to these different people.
Something we were talking about before we started recording, I had an interesting experience over the weekend. Kim Petras, an artist I just recently got into, was at a Powerpuff Girls themed, like, fashion show over the weekend, and she was posting all these Instagram stories and all these pictures, and it was taking videos with all these other artists, and I was like, well, shit, I really like her music. Let me see what they're about. And you know how YouTube works in the algorithm. You fucking get lost in the rabbit hole of recommendations. Sooner or later, I came across an artist named Queen, spelled Qveen, Herbie, Herby. And I watched a couple of videos, and I'm sitting there like, this is okay. I am a bit put off, though, that it's like a straight-up white woman walking around with these typically black woman hairstyles. And it's like, if she wants to rap, that's fine, but now it's almost becoming too much, like kind of Culture Vulture-ish. Further I dig, I find out that it's actually Amy from Carmen. What I thought was weird, that when I went on Twitter and I wanted to see what other people were saying about her, I saw that a lot of the comments were all people saying, how am I just now finding out about her? How did I not know about this rebranding? It's been years, but I'm just now finding out about it. A lot of people had the exact same experience I did, where the video just showed up in the YouTube recommended videos over the weekend. Now, I know YouTube has an algorithm and whatever, but I think it's a bit more specific than that, to where it's odd that we all had the same experience. Like, normally, not everyone's recommendeds are gonna be that identical, but I'm seeing person after person being like, how am I just now?
Okay, are you thinking that maybe, yeah, there's some sponsored content by way of, oh, your next recommended video is just gonna so happen to be this video somebody paid for?
It's weird, because sometimes, like, I've noticed that'll happen multiple times where, like, the same video will come up, regardless of what I'm watching. Like, it'll be like, no, I know you want to watch this next. It's like, well, that's not even related to what I just watched.
So there's this Japanese song that came out in like the 80s. Like, there's this genre called city pop, and it sounds like 80s music, but it's like, it sounds like music from like a, you know, a different place where it's like the drums are more hollow and just like, you know what I mean? It's just like,
oh, I need
like,
that shit. That sounds
yeah,
so good.
it's so cool. It's like alternate reality 80s. This song just happened to be a really big hit like back then, and then it was just like, I guess somebody just uploaded it to YouTube, and it just happened to start getting into people's recommendations. And I think just by way of like people in other countries listening to, like, you know, people in other countries listening to our pop music too, right? And then they also go back and they listen to their Japanese stuff or their, you know, Taiwanese stuff or their whatever stuff. And it was just like, so the algorithm was probably just going like, oh, well, they're listening to that. Well, I don't know, you know, any nationality differences or anything like that, so I'm assuming that they like this too. And so, like, I remember I came across it and I was just like, yo, this shit is jamming. Like, yo, what is this? Like, how did I just find out about this? It's like, oh, this would do like a remix or something like that. And I think that possibly happened too. But I just thought it was funny, like, going into the comment section, again, I kept seeing, like, you know, similar to what you said, like, yo, I just found out about this, like, randomly thanks to the YouTube algorithm, and I'm jamming. You know what I mean? So it's just like, yo, this is crazy. Like, music, like, technology is accidentally making us, you know, shrinking our borders concerning our music consumption, you know?
Is this the singularity?
Hey, one nation under a groove. I dig it.
We've got 2 Patreon requested albums we gotta talk about this week. One from my page and one from all RC's page. And if there's an album that you would like to hear us talk about, head on over to either patreon.com/rapcritic or patreon.com/muse. It's up to you. Now, which one are we going to start out with? Because I didn't realize which one was older.
The older one is the DaveedDiggs album. Now, you may remember DaveedDiggs from last year's explosive films. What was that joint called? I want to say Brain Spotting, but that's not it. Blind Spotting. You might remember him from the film Blind Spotting, which incorporated a lot of like hip hop elements into it, which was really fucking cool. I enjoyed it so much. It was like watching a fucking 90s music video, you know what I mean? Like with those type of like exciting visuals of a Hype Williams video, but like, you know, with a deep message behind it. It was fucking awesome.
And DaveedDiggs is no stranger to the podcast, as we reviewed 2 projects of his before, including Splendor and Mercy, the clipping album, the space-themed clipping album, as well as the Hamilton soundtrack. This album, by the way, was requested by Thomas Herderman, Small Things to a Giant by DaveedDiggs, his debut album, might I say his humble beginnings.
Very, very humble.
This,
This is this is not required reading.
There's a reason this ain't on Spotify. I'm just gonna go ahead and say
this is
that.
all the footnotes.
I imagine they asked David while they were putting up all the clipping stuff. Hey, you want to put up that small? Nah, it ain't necessary.
It just kind of feels like someone honestly was just like, he think he good now, huh? He think he flashing with that. I'm gonna show his ass. I remind him where he came from.
This is very mediocre. Very middle of the road.
Oh, he's trying so hard to be like pop and like Childish Gambino, but like with more book learning smarts. You know what I mean? Like oh my God, there's one song in particular that I really wanted to note. Just Grew.
Oh my God, that chorus. I just grew.
That tries so hard to be a mainstream mid-2000s rap beat, but it's just like too loud. Like even Pharrell would tell you to turn the fucking synth players down. You know what I mean?
I'm glad you said mid-2000s because
exactly.
So many of the beats on this album are so dated by 2012 standards. Like they sound like 2006, 2007.
Like this is what dated sounds like now. You know what I mean?
Oh my God. I want to say that this was like, oh no, it was uploaded in 2012, but it's really from 2005, but I don't think that's the case. I want it to be, but I don't think that's the case. We don't get a great intro, fresh from the hood. I thought the bass in the beat was pretty dope, but other than that, the sample and the, again, dated like laser sounds, like the beep 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 beep.
Yeah,
like
but
that.
Was that trying to be futuristic? Maybe that's what he was going for.
Was that futuristic for 2012? Am I already that old that I can't even remember? Oh, what was futuristic in 2012? Flying cars and laser sounds on Bandcamp. The only lyric I think I have written down from this whole album. Bass hits for these bass wits in the basement. I'm basically based in this bass from the bass shit. That was dope.
That was pretty cool. Small things to adjust. Like, the first song was like, I don't know how I feel about him just yet. And the second song, I was just like, okay, I know. And I knew because, like, I first listened to the song and I was just like, a couple of wonky, metaphors, and they don't really work. But, I think I enjoyed it. And then, like, I had to write a note for something, like, for the Michael Jackson thing. So I went up and wrote it. And then I came back down to the lyrics that I quoted, under the song. And I was just like, ooh, that's a bad. Ooh, no, I don't like this song. Like, it was just like, as soon as I was reminded, as soon as I took a second away and then came back, it was just like, nope.
The lines weren't good, and the flow was like awkward. Like the pacing was sloppy.
There's so many moments where he tries to be cool, you know what I mean? Where he's just like, I'm going to put on the cool flow, but I'm going to be like the cannabis of the 21st century. He does say it. I'm going to throw it a little. He said, I got the icy flow. They want similes as in like, but really that's no different from how I was taught to flow and uncover my telltale heart. Edgar Allan Poe. And it's just said
As soon as you said cannabis flow, it reminded me of Nighttime, which feels like, at this point, the most complete and full, probably the best song on the album. Overall, it's got really cool strings over the chorus and like ominous strings later on during the second verse. But I couldn't help but notice that in the first verse, he's trying this, and you may have to listen to it again, but this Aesop Rock flow.
I wrote down, it's like a party song written by Aesop Rock.
Okay, I'm glad we're both on the same page there. Yeah, because, like, production-wise, it was way better than all the tracks before it.
But it was just like, it's trying to be a party song, but it's trying to be really retrospective about it. But it's like, oh, we're partying, but we're really not feeling good. But it's like way too sad for it to even slightly work. You know what I mean?
Oh, yeah, I mean, I'm just gonna go ahead and say this. Daveed's lyrics and the bars, those are like, you don't even need to pay attention to those. Like, you're not missing shit. Really, the beats are what I noted more often than the actual lyrical content. That was the only line I took down was from, the first track? It goes from okay to, in my opinion, Nighttime, best track, and then it just fucking falls to shit. Can you tell me what the fuck was I Write Rap Songs?
Oh my God. Yo, homie was showing his hand a little too much there.
Boo! Holy shit.
Dude.
Weakest beat, weakest lyrics. That song was so trash.
Can I just say, this is the most, sadly self-conscious song I've ever heard in my life. Who is this? Why does he wear his pants so long? Why is he in the club with his t-shirt on? What? What?
It's like, why are you swimming with a t-shirt on? Okay. Why are you in the club with a t-shirt on? What?
What do you think people are thinking about you, dude? Like, what? Do you really think you're in the club and you think the ladies are judging you? Why is that guy wearing a shirt while in the club?
To fool. Why he dancing all alone? Can a dude not dance alone?
Yeah.
Like, what the fuck do you do when you go to a club? Or you have to find a dance partner immediately, or else people will criticize you from across the room.
People will start to talk.
I write raps. I write rap songs. I write rap. Oh my God.
What that boy do?
Ooh.
It's just like self-awareness without any introspection.
I'm just gonna go ahead and say this. This had a very similar feel to the Chris Webby album. Maybe it's because they're both debut albums from independent artists, and man, we've reviewed so many albums from independent artists that have the same fuck-like attitude and sound, of like I've got shit to prove. It's like,
yeah, I got something to prove, but I'm so carefree, and I got a hippie chick that I'm fucking, and it's always like a hippie chick. Like, what the fuck's up with that?
Write an interesting song. Pick a topic. Who fucking had that song? Pick a topic.
Isaiah Rashad,
pick a fucking topic. Okay, what's your idea of a topic? That I write raps? No.
You're being too self-aware right now.
It's like, okay, how good my songs are? No. Come on! Like, it can be about you, but like, base level brag shit.
My girlfriend's mad that I'm on tour because my songs are really great.
And it's a dream. I'm chasing that dream.
I don't know. Who was the other guy? Who was the other guy who, like, just the most, like, just started rapping in the 90s? Like, he heard rap in the 90s and was like, yep, doesn't need to get any better than that.
Oh, fuck. It's so hard to keep track anymore.
You know what I'm talking about, though?
Yeah.
Like, I'm going to make it, and I got the Drake beard. And you know what I'm talking about, right? I feel so bad. It doesn't feel right to hate on underground rappers, right? Because it's just like, I mean, they're fucking doing their best, you know?
Man, no, because I hear underground rappers fucking bringing fire, and when you're not, you need to have it pointed out to you. And we can hate on DaveedDiggs because he's doing fine.
Yeah, exactly. And here's my thing. They want to be underground, and you can hear in this album and in the other album that sense of, I want to keep the talent and skill, but I got to give a little something to the mainstream, you know? Maybe not just one track. Maybe I just got to do this track, and I'm going to be lyrical on this track, but I got to give it something, you know? And it's just like, I hear them doing the balancing act, and like, I hear it not being balanced, you know what I'm trying to say?
Oh, yeah.
Like, we're, like, in the sense of just, like, this song would not pop in a club. Like, you know what I mean?
No, and, like, there's songs on this EP, like, Trappers, like, really great beat. Drums and cymbals on that track. It's clashing, it's so loud. And then it's like, it just overpowered the lyrical content, like, entirely.
The only joint I liked was Don't Let Me Fall.
I just thought that one was boring.
Because it was just like, it had an interesting lyric about, like, you know, looking against the rain and how it's him against the window pane of the glass on a sad day, you know, and it was like, don't let me fall. And you kind of heard, don't let me fall, don't let me fall. And it was just like, oh, it kind of sounded like, you know, actual falling. And you hear like the piano keys and shit. It's like, all right, you know, that's at least like working with the imagery and stuff. Yeah, I thought that one was too cool. I didn't want to forget that.
I thought all four of the last tracks, I Write Rap Songs, Don't Let Me Down, About My Paper, and Small Things to a Giant Outro were just like unfucking needed. I hated the absolutely nothing beat on the outro. Like, it was so entirely boring.
Oh, it was like this 15 to 20 second intro of like this old school guy going like, excuse me, I'm going to need you to turn your radio all the way up because what you're going to hear is so incredible. It's just like, all right.
What you are about to hear, like that, you hear that shit on rap albums all the time. It's so trope. Like
Missy Elliott did it, you know, like, turn the volume up. This is a Missy Elliott exclusive.
you gotta get that one guy, fucking, the princess is here!
Oh, Jazzy Fizzle.
You need him! You need, no old
Another
school
Jazzy
sample.
Fizzle, product shizzle.
Exactly! You need that. You don't need some old crusty ass sample of turn the volume all the fuck off with that shit. So lame. Man, I wish there was more to say, but...
Yeah, I give this about like a 2.5.
I came out with a 2.7, so I rounded it up to a 3. Where that fucking guy, and he grew up to be in clipping. Now you know the rest of the story.
Yes!
Oh my god. You could skip over this shit all together. And,
oh, man.
On top of that, though, we've got another Patreon request. We've got, the name might sound familiar, we got another Chris Webby request.
John Speciale, thank you very much. You requested Chris Webby's Chemically Imbalanced, his 2015 album, and it's better than the other one we talked about, I think. He's not my favorite, but I would be really happy if most rappers sounded like this. You know, like, not everyone's gonna be great, but it's like, all right, this is the perfect average, above average. You know what I mean? Like, I'm not gonna hate if you dig above average, but like, you know, it's cool. It's cool. You know what I mean?
When you first told me that we were reviewing the album, and I was like, oh shit, we're going all the fucking way back to the debut. We just said, like, we were joking about, oh, it's Wednesday, you know, the follow-up's gotta be next Wednesday. I was hoping we'd be doing next Wednesday! Going, you know, in the logical progression, in chronological order.
No, we're fucking George Lucas in this shit.
We're going all the way back to the prequels!
We're going back to the bad ideas.
Oh, to Boss Nass and Jar Jar Binks. We're going back to Watto. No, this album is not Jar Jar Binks, Boss Nass, or Watto. But yeah, it's basically like episode 6. It's not no episode 5.
Yeah, like, as you look back, you're like,
it's alright.
You know, it wasn't that bad, but you know,
it has its memorable points.
If it comes on TV, I'm not gonna change the channel. You know what I mean?
I'll watch the Sarlacc pit scene, you know, that's about it.
So Easy had immediately infectious beat with the little high voice in the background. It sounds like a cat or some shit.
A cat? There's a cat.
Yeah, I don't know what it was. It just sounded like there's like a cat just singing in the background.
Okay.
I was like, that just put me at ease. Like, I was just like after the first song, you know, again, this is just like, after the first song, I'm not sure how I feel about him, because he had one line where he was just like, I'm sure to be a legend, impressing with every story told, going balls to the wall like I'm fucking y'all through a glory hole. And I was like, okay. All right, that wasn't that bad. You know, but then he has a line where he's like, turned down a lot of deals and I chose to make a stand. Fuck selling out, homie, that ain't the plan. Why push the envelope? I'm tackling the mailman.
I didn't think it was a bad line, but the fact that it, like, ended a thing and they paused the beat, like...
Yeah!
This is a big fuck deal, you gotta pay attention to this shit. I was like, I mean, it wasn't that good.
That's what makes you, like, hate it more. You're just like, you know, originally I didn't care.
Yeah, it's like, it's not a punchline, but it's the fact that you brought so much attention to it that it's like, well, it wasn't that good. Speaking of which, that reminds me of the House Party Cypher interlude, which, can I just say, the interludes on this album, MC Chris length.
Yo!
He got the MC Chris skits.
But he can keep these. I'll listen to the fucking MC Chris skits, goddamn.
The skits are bad.
You hate the
Meandering. Skits. I don't like the skits. You're right.
See, I was gonna say, with House Party Cypher, at least that had a fucking verse in it. Like, it gave you some lyrical content at the very least.
I wrote down how long one of them took to get into, because this shit was starting to piss me off. Okay, so Blunt Ride Cypher, 2 minutes and 55 seconds until any actual rapping starts.
Song. It took a song's length of time. Those better be some funny fucking or entertaining as hell 3 minutes to make me wait for an okay verse.
Exactly. You know, like, when every time the verse ended, you hear the people going, oh, and it was just like, all right. Like, you know,
okay.
Especially, it's about the presentation. That's what makes it worse.
Yep.
If this had just been the verse and you ended like that, maybe I would have given you props. But the fact that you made me wait.
And the fact that you're making a big fuck deal, it's your debut. a fucking group of people going, oh, is it gonna make me be like, oh yeah, fucking Chris Webby.
It's not like a
he's
fucking
force
laugh
to be
track
reckoned
where
with.
you can just make people go, oh, okay, well they're cheering along with it.
Here's where you're supposed to cheer. Yeah, exactly.
Like, I can still hear what you're saying, you know.
Yeah, like, to make it realistic, there should have been at least one person like, alright. Like, come on!
Oh, I loved Brimlow. Okay.
Oh, yeah.
Where he's like, now they all love me or hate me, like there ain't no in between. You know, he's talking about all the haters, like, oh, there's so many people that just want my attention all the time, but then there's also people that are saying, fuck you. And it's like, they either love me or hate me, like there's no in between. And as soon as I heard that lyric, I'm like, I'm kind of in between, honestly.
You just slowly raise your hand. Excuse me, Mr. Webby.
Things. I will actually leave you alone.
Yeah, exactly. If I see you, I'll go, yeah, it's Chris Webby.
Hey, isn't that, what do you know?
Going back to what we were talking about before, an album with, like, really hardly any topics?
I got about 8 tracks in, and I was like, all right, that was okay for, and then saw how much there was left. I was just like, oh, man.
Get comfy.
Like, you know, when you look at the Spotify playlist and then you see it goes off of, you know, your screen. Oh.
The topic of which I guess you can tell from the name of the album, he's chemically imbalanced, that you're gonna have some songs on here about drugs, you're gonna have some songs about how cool drugs are, and you're gonna have your song about how maybe not so cool drugs are, because you have to even it out. Like, it was okay when, like, we listened to Danny Brown, and he's got, like, 4 fuck songs about, like, I'm doing cocaine, I'm fucking losing my brain. It's like, okay, cool, like, alright. And then there's a song about, like, hey, this shit might kill me. It's like, alright, that's believable.
When Danny Brown tells you that I'm fucked up and I'm not happy about this shit, I believed it. He has that Eminem copycat syndrome where it's like, I'm gonna say these outrageous lyrics, but I'm not gonna give you any of the oomph and the, like, anger in it that makes Eminem's lyrics sound like, oh shit, don't fuck with him, because he might have actually did that shit. You know what I mean? Like, don't you hear that all the time? Well, like, I feel like cunning linguists, I love them, fucking love them. But whenever they do the I'm an over the top, you know, bad guy rapper, and it's always just like, oh, get out of here. I don't believe. You know what I mean?
He's gonna tussle his hair and send him on his way.
Yeah, exactly. It's just like, all right, sure, you know. So when he's saying like, ooh, you know, I'm killing. Well, it was like the first lyric where it just sounded way over the top on the album. I was just like, all right, you're not saying that like someone who does that, though. Like, the first big punchline already kind of disappointed me. Jury's out, fuck it, I don't care, I'm a vent. And get fucking intense like Native American sex.
He goes out of his way to be like, well, no, I gotta be respectful. I'm gonna say Native American instead of Indian because, you know, I gotta be politically correct. But does he still think, like, Native Americans all sit around in fucking tents and like, teepees? Like, what the fuck, dude?
He has one of those, no matter what type of line it was, if it was slightly clever, use it. You know what I mean? Where it's just like, you didn't, like a wild card and the other guy, like, you left nothing on the cutting room floor. You know what I mean?
What's the opposite of a store closing? Everything must go. Just everything must stay. We can't spare anything. We have the bare minimum of fire lines. We gotta keep them all, even if they don't hit that good.
Like, he has a joint where he says, I kept my circle tight, it never loosened up, and cut the snakes out like Medusa up at Supercuts. I was like, all right, I gotta give him that. That was a fucking dope line. I don't want to completely clown on him, but it was just like the sort of obvious trying to go for the mainstream stuff in certain aspects. And it was just like, I guess just through time and seeing what the sort of gimmicks and sounds were of the day, you know what I mean? Like, we're kind of removed from that time just a little bit. And so it's kind of like, oh yeah, that's what you kind of did to try to go and, you know, sort of, you know, I'm a little nerdy, but you know, I can still show up at the football party. You know what I mean?
I thought the production was really good. I didn't have any problems with the production. I don't remember there being any songs that I, like, entirely was, like, not here for. I thought they were all pretty okay.
This was definitely, like, more polished and shined off than DaveedDiggs' album. I enjoyed Roll a Doobie, actually. I thought that was actually a dope track.
I didn't think I was gonna like it, but yeah, it was pretty good.
Maybe it was because it came after Blunt Ride Cypher, and I was just like, oh, cool, an actual song, okay. these choruses, bro. Fuck Off and Oh No. I was like, for both of them, I was like, these hooks feel a little too simple. Like, we accidentally turned the song in and forgot to record the rest of the chorus simple. Like, Oh No was like, it's like, we come in the club and they're saying, oh no. And we come in the club and they're saying, oh no.
Why? Why are they saying, oh no? Did they not want you there?
Is it a good thing? Is it a bad thing? You care to specify?
Yeah, like, or like, oh no, he's gonna make us look uncool because he's such a cool guy. Or, oh no, we just don't fucking want him here.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, could go in two very different directions, Chris. When I saw the name of the song was Fuck Off, I was like, okay, this could either be really bad or, you know, it might have some potential. And I don't remember hating it. Just basing a song off the phrase "fuck off" is always like a red flag. Like, he's the angry guy.
It stinks of 1998 fucking angsty hip hop shit. You know what I mean?
He's fucking there with his tongue out and both middle fingers up.
Yeah,
he doesn't
when
respect
everyone
your
was
authority.
misspelling their words on purpose with a cloud of smoke above their head. You know, everyone's trying to.
Yeah.
You know, the very first lyric is, check my lyrics up on Rap Genius. I'm a rap genius.
That's right. No.
Why do you think someone's gonna think you're a rap genius when you just rhyme rap genius with rap genius? I just want to know why.
And I don't remember there being too many references on this album that I thought to myself, oh, I'm gonna remember that later so I can look it up on Rap Genius because I don't know what he's talking about.
Exactly. There wasn't like, oh shit, what did that mean? You know?
And he did reference some things, like he was like, oh yeah, now I'm on my Razor Ramon shit. And I'm like, oh, you know what? I gotta give you points because I appreciate when rappers reference wrestlers that no one else is referencing, and you went ahead and name-dropped Razor Ramon. Maybe not everyone's gonna know who that is, so yeah, that's a fucking genius one, I guess, but a lot of the other references just kind of felt like, yeah.
Some people say I'm famous. Tell me that I made it. Some other people never heard of me at all. Yeah, that's how
it goes.
Generally works.
Mm-hmm.
Got some people on my dick now. Others talking shit now. I'm in the middle, just trying to write these songs. It just sounds so like.
He writes rap songs. What'd that boy do?
Oh, look at me. I'm the rapper. I'm just trying to make it. Humble old me. It's just like, how many times? Like, look. And I'm not saying you can't do it, but like,
you gotta do something different.
Be funny, be clever. That's the reason why we care about everyone else telling their story, because, you know what I mean?
Yeah, like the indie shit tends to be so trope heavy. And I guess it's like, it's weird because you haven't really made a foothold for yourself yet.
Exactly, and that's why I kind of want to give them leeway a little bit, you know?
Yeah, like no one knows who you are really. You don't have your own cemented identity, so you really don't have anything to build off of. If you start, bragging like you're the greatest, people are like, well, you haven't proved it to me yet. So these independent dudes have to be like, okay, well, I gotta fucking prove it to him. So I gotta fucking do that. Like, I'm leaving it all on the line. I'm quitting my job. Who did that shit? I quit my job.
Wasn't he the dude who was like, so what, I'm living up in my parents' attic. It's not weird or something like that.
Oh, yeah, that's right. I forget we just recently did Chris Webby, that it's, like, still fresh in my mind, the fucking Wednesday album. It very well could have been him.
We've done him and other people doing something like him and him again, so it's starting to...
And I can't tell the difference!
Okay, I will say this. The Vanarchy album was someone I think who did this.
That was the Quit My Job.
Yeah, actually.
That was the I quit my job to fucking live in a van out in the woods. I live in a van down by the river and recording this shit. That's right.
But that had personality to it, especially like ending the first song with that Chris Farley line. That was just so cool,
And if anyone else would have sampled that shit, it would have been corny, but he made it work in the context.
Exactly. So it's just like, it's not that you can't do that formula, but like, give it heart or give it something clever to it. You know what I mean?
Yep. And I mean, I'm saying yup like it's easy. I know it's not easy. That's why I don't fucking do it. That's why I don't write raps. But, it's like, it's weird because when you do nothing on the show but review albums week after week after week, and you see independent artists do it so much better, like, that's what I have to go off of. when we've reviewed albums where people blow it out of the fucking water, and you look at things like Pharrell the Earthworm, and it looks like the most fucking DIY thing you've ever seen, to where I'm fucking doing Google searches trying to find out if it's actually Pharrell who requested the album. You know, like, is this some self-produced shit? Like, and if I'm, like, listening to it and I'm amazed that, like, no, like, this is a self-produced thing, and it's like, this is just some guy out there, and it's like, wow, this fooled me. Like, it sounded like it actually could have been, you know, some dude who's been at it for a while. But now in the context of, we're fucking reviewing this album, and yeah, the more I think about it, it did end up being a bit better than Wednesday. It's like, so he got, like, less inspired as he went? That's even worse. Maybe I don't want to hear next Wednesday, whatever.
Next Wednesday. The next one's always worse. But I will say this, in the case of DaveedDiggs, like, you know, thank God he didn't stop. You know what I mean?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. No, I don't want anyone to stop. You know,
Yeah.
Obviously, you know, your environment, the people you work with, like, man, the fucking features on the DaveedDiggs album were, like, nothing to write home about. How did you, fuck me, how did you not even mention that Tech 9 was on that album? We completely forgot about him.
Like, honestly,
Because it wasn't very good.
And I was thinking this as I listened to it. As I listened to his verse, I was just like, his verse was like, you know, because you wait for that moment of like, oh, Tech 9, oh, it's time for him to show up you just kind of did your verse like about as good as him, huh? You didn't want to show up the new guy, eh?
Yeah, that's the thing. He fucking read the room and realized it wasn't worth it. So I was like, this shit ain't worth my A game. See, I wasn't looking on Spotify to see that it was him, so I'm just sitting there listening, and Tech 9 starts, and it slowly dawns on me. I'm like, oh, this sounds like Tech 9. And then I look at him like, oh, it is Tech 9. This isn't very good. Like, oh no. But yeah, overall, what would old Chris Webby, on his big old debut, his first day out, what would you end up giving this album?
I put a 3.357, and that feels appropriate.
Yeah, I'm leaning more towards like a solid 3, honestly. Like, it didn't blow me away. It was alright.
I mean, like, it's above average. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
Like I said, I would be fine if most rappers sounded like this, but it's not going to be my personal favorite, you know? Like,
no, you know, I will say that, you know, even though there wasn't much personality, the personality we did get of, like, on the end of, like, just sounded like the dude was having a good time. You know, that in itself is usually enough to carry an album, honestly.
And like, I did appreciate that, like, when he did go into the Chemically Imbalanced, when he kind of talked about, like, the line from, you know, I was getting these drugs for ADHD, and then, you know, I was taking more than I was supposed to, and I was smoking weed with it, and I was doing this with it, and it was just like, oh shit, you know, he kind of got introduced to the pharmacy through the doctor, you know what I mean? Like, he was getting these drugs legally, you know, like.
Maybe it says something about the album that, like, I was just saying, oh, well, I should have learned something about you. Yeah, that is something I learned, but I forgot.
So, I feel like Krayshawn's album is one of the worst albums I've ever listened to.
You know what's funny? When I was looking up people talking about Queen Herbie, I saw people drawing comparisons with Krayshawn, and I was like, oh, that's not good. And then another red flag I noticed was that people were like, she needs to do a collaboration with Iggy Azalea. I'm like, oh
that's
no.
especially not good.
Oh no, fucking hang it up. That's a wrap. Get out while you still can.
It felt specific to the fact of, like, white girl rapping. You know, like, that stigma in and of itself, regardless of whether or not she actually has bars. You know what I mean? And that kind of felt like, all right, like, listen. But then I heard her other song. It was like bumping. And I was like, okay, this is bad. All right, never mind. And then she put out the actual album. See, that was just like the sort of like the song that was released, you know, like, I mean, I think we don't take into account motherfuckers who release songs, you know, it's not planned. It's not on a label. Motherfuckers work on some shit and they release it, you know? And so it's like, all right, that happened to pop off. And then when she got on the label, it was just like, okay, we don't know what to do with this person. Just rap. Ooh, dude, you're really hot. You're on Adderall, and you have a really high voice, and yeah. And it was just a nothing personality of an album. Like, I remember literally listening to her album, being like, I feel like I retained absolutely none of what I just heard. I fell through that album. That's how I described it.
A trapdoor opened and you were looking around for something to grab onto. Just sliding your hands across the walls as you just fell deeper and deeper until you finally fell at the other side and you were like, what the hell was that? Where was I?
That's about an accurate description. What the hell was that?
Looking back up the hole like, what the?
No, you almost like feel like you had a time lapse. Like, what did I just spend the last 40 minutes doing? How long? Like the fucking Angry Beavers episode.
Oh yeah.
How long? Have we been awake?
Oh my god, dude. I forgot all about that fucking episode, yeah.
That shit made me
I
laugh
can even
so
picture the way
hard.
Norbert says it. How long have we been away? And I haven't seen that fucking episode in like 20 years.
Dude, that episode is possibly one of the best debut episodes. But yeah, basically, like, the whole idea is that, like, and it felt so #relatable. Like, they're like, oh, we're out of the house. We can stay up as long as we want. And, like, I had that flashback when I watched it and being like, oh my God, I remember when I was a kid and being like, can't wait to, like, go out in the world and I can stay awake as long as I want. I was like, yeah, I'm going to stay awake as long as I want. And then you see the episode how they're like, this isn't worth it. We're fucking tired of shit. And I'm like, yeah, that's about how it goes.
That about wraps it up for this week's episode of the Going Off podcast. Big thanks to the folks who requested the albums for us to review this week. If you have an album that you would like to hear us talk about, head on over to either patreon.com/rapcritic or patreon.com/muse. Check out the pages for details and find out how you can request an album for us to review on this very podcast. We got some other shit going on. We got our respective Teespring stores.
Oh yeah,
you can find on our YouTubes.
Exactly. You can get our Teesprings. Go to our Patreons. Check out your boy Stationhead. You know what I'm saying? Got a couple programs going on there. Search download the app. Search Rap Critic, one word. You know what I mean? You'll find me.
Meanwhile, I'm trying to make a new home on Twitch.
Yep.
As the crumbling foundation of YouTube looks scarier and scarier. I'm trying to craft that lifeboat.
Oh, I'm definitely
trying
to jump on the SS Twitch.
Dude, it's not bad over here, man. Like, there's no Nazis or nothing. But yeah, in all reality, a lot of our content on the Muse Productions page is over on the Twitch page now. And we're going to try to do some video game streaming also. We tried a test stream on YouTube over the weekend playing some Fallout, and it went really well. So if that's any indication of how things are going to go on Twitch, might try to make that a thing in our spare time. Twitch.tv/riffcoms. For those who are interested, you could give us a follow so you can get the emails and notifications when we go live or when we post new videos. All that shit. And in the meantime, you can subscribe to us on our independent YouTube channels, because we're still posting stuff on there. I'm still posting stuff on there until it's uninhabitable, and I just slide out that back door. But, we're hoping it doesn't have to come down to that, honestly. But in case it does, you can never be too careful.
We have no brand loyalty, is what we're trying to say.
Yeah, it's basically me when I was a kid and I was playing Nintendo, and then I was playing Super Nintendo, and then the fucking PlayStation came out, and I completely ignored the N64. I had no brand loyalty to Nintendo. It was just because it was what was there. And then fucking PlayStation, I was like,
never understood that anyway. Like, who gives a fuck? They don't get...
No, I was so blown away when I was like in school and people were talking about, like, I went over to a friend's house and they had a Sega Genesis instead. I was like, oh, you have a different console than mine. Cool. Do you have different games? Cool, I'll play those. I wasn't like, what the hell? You don't have the gray system I have?
Yeah.
Loser! You don't have this, like, they didn't fucking yell at me about their blast processing or whatever the fuck the Genesis had.
You don't have the exact same games I have, so now we can't play any other games that would be outside of this system.
No, it's basically, oh cool, I'm at my friend's house. He has Sonic. I can't play Sonic because I don't have a Sega. This is cool. It was basically when I went over to my friend's house and I had a PlayStation and I was like, oh cool, you have Mario Kart? We can play that instead because I don't have that game. Fucking yelling at each other. But now it's all fucking going back to the singularity of how, oh, you can play games on the PlayStation against people who have Xboxes, and fucking brands are gonna be meaningless and it's all gonna be one thing.
Cool. Well, I'll just play video games and oh my god, it's Ready Player One.
Oh no. It's Ralph Breaks the Internet.
Oh no. Why are the harbingers of what's to come in the worst movies of last year?
Oh my god. They tried to warn us, but no one watched.
Because the movie sucked, so it was kind of like, you know.
You saw the poster. You saw how long they made his legs.
I love the idea of them going like, they tried to warn you, but it was in a really shitty movie, so, you know, I don't blame you.
The warning signs are all there, but, I mean, it looked so shit. I don't blame you. But until next week, for the Going Off podcast, I'm Muse.
And I'm Rap Critic, and you know what? Do yourself a favor. Go watch some Angry Beavers.
You know, it's an odd recommendation.
I think I should specify that I mean the cartoon. Like, someone's gonna be out there.
Just looking for an angry beaver to watch. To spectate.
Go watch some Angry Beavers.
On fucking National Geographic.
Like, this wasn't nearly as entertaining as that Rap Critic said.
I saw that one bite the other one. I guess that was funny.
They weren't talking at all? What the fuck is this shit? The motherfucker high?